think that's what I want to do. Cool. So we want to have all this information so you guys can hear it, and then we'll send this out as well. So if you need to hear it again or you think of something later on, feel free to reach out to us. By the end of it, we'll all drop our information in the chat box. So I don't know, Chris or Kim, if you want to start about the whole quarantining process and how we're going to get started on that.
Sure. Happy to. And thanks, Emily, for getting everybody together. So I probably chatted with several of you before on a previous Zoom session. Appreciate you being here, and certainly welcome any questions you have. I'll just mention in overview that first of all, I appreciate everyone's patience and understanding. One of the things that my team and I have been working really hard on is trying to deal with the changing and evolving circumstances that we're faced with from New York State. Certainly, a lot of what we're having to do is not anything that would be our choosing necessarily, but they're requirements that we have to abide by based on the needs to keep New York State as safe as possible. And we know that in the context right now of the nation, that New York has gotten to a relatively good place in terms of the scope of COVID-19 and the circumstances across the state and particularly locally. And really the goal is to keep things in that space and to bring students back to colleges and universities across the state and keep things as safe as possible. And so this quarantine requirement plays into that. And so at this point, we have 36 states and territories and the District of Columbia across the nation that are affected by this 14-day quarantine requirement for people traveling to New York State. And so to give you some sense, that applies right now to about 145 of our NU students. And so, you know, in our communication, we've offered several different options for quarantine. People may choose to quarantine in the hotel that we've established. And I've got to tell you that not a lot of colleges and universities are offering this type of option through the university. So it's something we felt was important to do, give students as many options as possible. Others may choose to quarantine in New York State, but in other locations. You may have friends or family who are in the state and choose that option. You also could arrange your own accommodations, right? It might be Airbnb, it could be another hotel, it could be a campground, right? And so people can be making choices about what works best for them. That also includes quarantining in another state that's not affected by the travel advisory, although that's a much smaller group of states at this point. So those are all different options available. And we wanted to give students and families some latitude and choice in doing that and abiding by the quarantine requirements. So I want to talk most because I think a lot of our students are going to be in the hotel. And so for the hotel, we've identified and put out there the date ranges that we would make the quarantine location available to our students. And so we know for our first year students that in order to participate fully in our new student orientation events beginning on the 19th and 20th, that students would need to be in the quarantine hotel by August 5th. And so that's kind of been a key date we put out there for a lot of folks, although there is some latitude in that. So we have some who are unable to be with us by then, and that's fine. And so students may be arriving up until about August 10th or so. The reason the date of the 10th is important is for students to fulfill the quarantine requirement in time to participate in in-person face-to-face classes, they would have to be completing that quarantine period in New York or in an unaffected state by August 10th in order to be on time for classes. And so those are some of the key dates, and there's some flexibility within those date ranges. We've had a lot of questions about what to expect from quarantine. And we're still working moment to moment on some of those details. What you can expect is that if you're arriving to the quarantine, if you're staying in quarantine, you'll first arrive to campus. And so everyone will come to campus first. And you'll have, depending on where you're located, what your residence hall is in the fall, you may have opportunity to drop your belongings in your residence hall room. We have a lot of different maintenance and upgrade projects that happen over the course of the summer. And those projects and where they are in stages of finalization have an impact on when halls will be available to us to allow students to access them. And so some will be very early in August. And so for some of you who would come to campus first, you'll be able to get into your residence hall room, not to do a full setup of your room, but to drop your belongings off. Others, students in O'Shea, for example, we have a project that's taking us right up until kind of that opening weekend, O'Shea Hall. So we're very excited about that restroom project because it's going to create much better conditions in that building. But it does mean that students in those spaces would need to temporarily store belongings on campus until they can be moved into O'Shea Hall. And that may be the case for some other areas as well. And so students will get some specific information about what their plans are, what they'll need to do when they arrive on campus prior to quarantining. So from campus, you then go to the hotel location. And we can expect in the hotel, it's going to be a single room, private bathroom, and that 3 meals obviously daily will be provided. Some of the details are working out. So we do know that there will be some limitations on how you can use the facility, right? And these are not by our choosing, right? What we're trying to do is best apply and interpret the quarantine guidance of New York State. So the governor's office has put out expectations and parameters around what quarantine looks like within the state. And unfortunately, these guidelines don't apply in a perfect way to this situation, right? Because they've had to draft guidelines that are very general in scope. And so we're working with the local health department to identify what are the right parameters for this particular situation. And so that's what we're working through right now. Some of the things we do know is that some of the congregate, right, facilities that you would normally see in a hotel, like the gym, like a pool, would simply not be available to students during that time. But what we're working on with the county is what other spaces in the hotel and outside could be available to our students. And we're awaiting a response anytime from the county on that. We do expect to have that answer before students arrive, and so we'll be able to share that with you. Do I think reasonably that any of you would be spending 24 hours a day for 14 days in your room? No, I don't. No, I don't, right? So we'll have some more information on that and what that looks like. But we do know that that we're having to kind of find this fine line between what the strict quarantine requirements are and what we can reasonably do in this particular situation, right? Some of what we've proposed to the county will be contingent on the results of the COVID testing that our students affected by quarantine will take. And so contingent on a negative test, for example, may open up some opportunities for additional latitude in using spaces in and around the hotel. And so for that reason, we've actually shifted the COVID testing date for those in the quarantine location from Friday the 7th to Thursday the 6th. And you'll be getting all those details when you arrive on dates, location, and that sort of thing. The other thing I can let you know, because I know a lot of people are concerned about the nasal swab test, right? And hearing about some discomfort around that. That's not actually the test that we'll be using. We'll be using an oral swab test. And so a little bit different than what some others have had to experience. And so it shouldn't be as concerning. I hope it's not as concerning to you as thinking about this nasal swab that some people call the brain scrape, right? And we also know that we're experiencing, because we can do this analysis of that testing locally, a 24 to 48 hour turnaround time on those results. So where other states and other testing sites are seeing up to a 2-week delay in results, that's not what we're going to be facing in our situation. So we'll be doing that testing early on, and we'll be getting those results early on, and that certainly will have implications for what students can do in terms of latitude in that time in the hotel. The other thing I'll mention is we're working with faculty and with other departments on campus to develop some engagement programming to keep you connected and occupied during your time. So while you'll certainly have access to the cable TV in the room and all the things that come along with that, internet access and all of that. We have faculty who'll be putting together a film series, and so there'll be, you'll see a schedule of those events throughout those 2 weeks, and so it'll be all the students who are interested viewing a film in real time, and then engaging in some discussion with your classmates and with our faculty following that. Campus ministry is going to be doing some programming to introduce you to the campus ministers and campus ministry programming, as well as for those of you who are, come from various faith traditions, to talk about faith and spirituality, if that's something that is meaningful and important to you. And so that opportunity will be there as well. We're also working with a faculty member on some potential service work that you may be able to do from a distance, right? Because certainly true to our mission as a Vincentian University, service to those in need. And so we're looking to put together a lineup of different events to have you engaged with, so that you can pass the time as quickly as possible during quarantine, and that it can be as stress-free and as kind of intellectually engaging, and keep you as connected as possible, despite the fact that you're going to be isolated to a certain degree for that period of time. So that's the general overview of what to expect. And then we know that for the transition back to campus, for those of you who would be coming back to campus when your stuff is already in your residence hall room, makes it a little bit easier. For those of you who will have stored belongings on campus, we're arranging for professional movers to actually assist with moving items from the temporary storage location to respective student rooms. And so we've identified the floor in 2 large gyms that will be secured spaces for this period of time. They have cameras and they will be secured. And each gym will have a grid on the floor with room numbers associated with them. And so students will drop their belongings within this grid, right, that corresponds to their room. And then movers over the period of time while you're in quarantine will get your items from that temporary location into your room. Now, they're not going to set up your posters, right? You'll still have to do that. But they'll be helpful in getting things transitioned to make it as easy as possible for you when you return to campus for new student orientation. So that was a lot of stuff, and I know that there are a lot of questions and things. But before we do that, Kim, anything you would like to mention about the move-in process further?
No, I think some of the questions that have come through have just been about, okay, so what day do I sign up for in the portal? So instead of using the move-in portal, you guys would have gotten, if you are quarantining, you would have gotten that separate sign-up sheet that we asked you for, just the date and time of your arrival, whether you're going to be using the hotel or whether you're going to be staying with friends or family in New York or a neighboring state. So you'll just do that instead. So you won't need to fill out the other portal piece of it. And then I know there was a really good question about what time should we come to campus. We're going to be open for you between 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. So when you get to campus, you're just going to go directly to the Kiernan Center, which is across the street from Seton. And we'll have printed all the signs today. You're going to have all those, signs that'll go in the yard so you can follow it as soon as you get onto campus, and we'll direct you to the right place. Everybody's going to pick up their key there, their pillow there, all that good stuff. And then if you're in Seton, you'll just go right across the street. You can unload your stuff. If you are in O'Shea or Clay Hall, I know there's a bunch of first year men who are in Clay. So if that applies to you, you're going to leave your stuff in that storage facility as well. And you've got the easiest job of the whole day because you don't have to go up any stairs. You don't have to wait for elevators. You just roll right in, you drop it in your box and you leave. So someone else gets to do all the heavy lifting and stuff for you and your stuff. So it is a benefit there. Our staff's going to be in that room with all of your stuff during that 10 to 7 period when it's open. And then as Chris said, it's going to be locked at night. There's cameras there. So the stuff will never just be out there by itself either. I know it's been another thing that people have had some questions about.
So many questions.
Varsity Village as well. So Varsity Village is going to be, it depends on which house you're in. So we'll talk with you about that specifically one way or another. Most Varsity Village houses will be available just to move your stuff directly into it. And then if you didn't receive the sign-up sheet, it could be if you were, I know there was one, maybe it was Casey, said your state was just added. So maybe look out for that in the next couple of days if your state was just added to get that sign-up sheet again this time.
Be checking your Niagara email. I cannot stress this enough, my friends. your Niagara email, because we know it's going to go from Niagara to Niagara. We can't guarantee that's going to go to Niagara to Yahoo or Niagara to Gmail or Hotmail or MSN or whatever Outlook server you're using. So be using your NU email. If you're not familiar with it, here's my shameless plug. We're having a My NU walkthrough event next Thursday. So when you're in quarantine at 4 o'clock, so hopefully this is not when the film is going, please log on and learn how to use your My NU account and everything that's involved with it. All right, are we ready for some questions? One question that I did have was, so let's say someone's coming up and dropping me off at the hotel. I'm not bringing a car to campus. Will there be a shuttle service from the hotel to campus when that time comes around?
Yeah, so we'll work with any students on an individual basis to figure out how we can get you from the hotel to campus. No problem with that at all. Yep.
Perfect. And then Casey, we're talking about you're going to be moved in. So your question, I think we're good with about moving in. So we're moving on. This is great. There's so many questions. I'm going to call on Mark Stewart just because I know we have a lot of Canadian questions. And he's here and he is very apt to it. So if he's around, there he is. Mark, we have a lot of Canadian questions. Let me find some of them. One was about the Nexus and their I-20. He said pretty much you guys are not going to be following the quarantine. Some students are looking into, I guess, Mark Stewart, I'm just going to hand it over to you and you want to talk about the options that our Canadian students do have.
Yeah, so you should have received a email to your MyNU today, or not MyNU, your Niagara U email. It did lay out some of the options, so go and read that after, but commuting is not an option. So the federal government, Mr. Trudeau, he wouldn't even waive the quarantine for the Toronto Blue Jays, so they actually have to play in Buffalo. So we weren't able to get, as it stands, we weren't able to get it lifted for our students. We did try. It wasn't something that we were able to do. Now, that being said, we do have two very solid options for the fall. The first of which is if you were going to commute, you now have the option of going online if you need to go that route. We will get you set up with a full-time schedule online. It might not be the schedule you wanted, and it might not be the schedule you currently have, but you will get a full-time schedule that will allow you to progress this year into your program. So don't worry, it's not going to set you back. The other option is living on residence. So living on residence is for sure an option. Now, I know some of you may not have budgeted to live on residence. If that's the case, we are working on sort of a different package of, I don't know exactly what the residence costs are going to look like. I do have a meeting tomorrow morning, and we're going to square away exactly what this residence cost is going to look like. If it is altering, there's been some talk that it might be a little bit different for the Canadians. So we're going to see. I don't have any definitive answers on that, but it's something that we're going to get answers on in the near future. Now, the ability to get over the border, it took a little bit of work. I just got something squared away this week. I've had to work with customs on both sides of the border to make sure that we were in line with regulations and we were in line with basically everything that's going on right now, because unless you're essential, you can't get over. So parents, you will not be allowed to get over. You will not be allowed to help them move in. Now, Debbie Curtis, who is the VP of International, she has worked out something with the Queenston border, Queenston-Lewiston Bridge, that there is an individual. It's laid out in this email to your niagara.edu email, so just look at that. But I would say it does leave a little bit of ambiguity and a little bit of, it's up to the agent. So you might just be prepared that you might not be allowed in. And that's outlined that if the parent's not allowed in, we're going to pick up the student on that side of the border. And the parent does have to be prepared to quarantine. Now the parent might get over, or guardian, and let them help move in. But we do have a very sound option that is going to for sure work. We have a bus, okay? So I've worked with a bus company. I've worked with the Canadian Customs. I've worked with U.S. Customs. It's going to cross at Rainbow Bridge, and we will do multiple buses if that's something that we need to do. It's going to cross at Rainbow Bridge. It's going to pick everybody up at an identified area, yet to be identified, but that'll get sorted soon. It's if you're coming from a great distance, if you're not local and you're coming a great distance, you will get your accommodations sorted out. So just reach out to me and we'll take care of that. Now, it's going to pick you up. I will be on hand for all of the bus times. I will help you move in. Well, not move in. I'll help you move your stuff into the bus. So I'll get you sorted. I'll meet the parents and everything, and we'll get you all situated onto the bus. Bring your mask. If you don't have a mask, which you probably do because we have to wear them in most places in Ontario now. So you probably do have one. If you don't, make sure you get one. You will very likely need to have that on the bus. Customs might give you a hard time if you don't. So just be prepared to implement all the social distancing that you're going to need to do in New York State as well, which would be masks. So just be prepared for that. And have your paperwork. So that's your I-20, your F1 visa, and your passport. Have all of that ready because Customs will not let you in without that. Now, the way, if you want the bus, the way this is going to work, and it's going to work for everything, you need to reach out to me. If you want online, I'm going to connect you with Katie Marchek, who's going to set up your online schedule. If you want the bus, or anyone that was already planning on residence and you're going to need this bus, you need to let me know as soon as possible because we're going to start putting this together next week. I'm working with Kim, and we're going to just start filling up bus time. So we believe we have a couple of dates that are going to work for this. I don't want to say them yet, but we have some time basically. So it's not next week. So don't worry, you don't have to quarantine. But I just don't want to say them until we have them for sure locked down. But basically you're just going to be given a time. Okay, so you're going to be given a time when your bus is going to leave. You need to be at the place and ready to move in, or ready to move onto that bus. The bus is going to go right across and right to campus, and then Residence Life is going to help you off that bus and help you move in. So you're going to be taken care of the entire way. And then I just saw, is there an online, if you choose the online option, the I-20. Now, this is a bit different. So if you already have your I-20, you might have to reapply for January when commuting becomes an option. That's something that I don't want to get into fully right now, but it's something we will get you an answer on, and we'll work with International and Serena Munzie and Amanda Barber, and they will give some better advice on that. I'm not an expert on that, so I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. Now, if you don't have your I-20 and you're going to do online, don't do your I-20 right now. We'll do it in January. So you don't need to worry about that right now. You have time. We'll do it in November, December, and get you ready for January, provided, of course, the governments lift this quarantine, or the government, our government in Canada here, lifts this quarantine, and we're allowed to commute again. So that's basically it. So if you're approved but you haven't paid, yeah, don't pay for it. You don't need to. You don't need to worry about it right now. So if you want to save that money right now, don't pay. So that's basically, if you need to go online, don't worry about the I-20. If you already have your I-20, it won't be effective right now, so it'll start after, and they'll work through the process of just getting it a delayed start time. So it's fine. It's not going to, if you haven't actually started it and attended school at NU yet, it's not a big deal. you'll get it started in January. Now, if it's a situation where you're a returning student, which I don't think we have anybody here, but if there is confusion for any of your friends or anything like that, are returning students, we'll work through the process of what their situation will be with respect to the I-20, because it's going to be slightly different than someone that's just coming in right now. So I think that's for the most part, the gist of it is, I know it's a lot. Just the main key is just reach out to me and let me know the exact option that you want. If you want online, great, we'll get you connected. If you want this bus and a residence, or just an inquiry into what the residence rate's going to be, either way, just get in touch and I'll get you sorted out where you need to be.
Wow, thanks, Mark. Half of that went over most of our heads. Mark, if you can just drop your email and cell phone number in the chat box, and then any of my Canadian students, if you have any questions going forth, please reach out to Mark. He's been heading this with also the other Mark in our office, and Dr. Curtis, making sure that we have everything in order for our Canadian students to still experience in Niagara, whatever way that you plan on doing so. All right, back to questions. I did get 2 questions about when are students getting tested.
So the testing for those staying in the quarantine facility will be on Thursday, August 6th. And that would be the only time, prior to the beginning of classes that you would be tested. Now we are making plans potentially for testing a percentage of our student population on a basis throughout the fall semester. And so we'll have some more detail around that. But you can expect that the testing requirement that we have for all of our out-of-state international and student athletes would happen in the weeks prior to the start of the semester. There's also times for those not staying in the hotel. So if you're not staying in the hotel, but you are staying in the Western New York area during for the 2-week quarantine period, there will be several options for testing availability on campus throughout the first 2 weeks of August. And so we've sent some detail on that, and we'll be sending some follow-up information. So you can get that test out of the way. It's going to be conducted in the health services parking lot right on campus on several occasions. We're also doing testing every day during the first week of classes. And so for anybody who may not have been tested prior, but still falls under that requirement, there'll be ample opportunity for the testing to take place. Now, as I mentioned at the front end, the testing we're doing in the hotel happens to be the oral swab versus the nasal swab. Some of the other testing locations and times are using the nasal swab. So I can't make that same guarantee for some of those other events. So I just wanted to put that out there.
And Chris, I got a follow-up question to that too. What organization is doing the testing?
So the testing in the hotel is being done in association with Niagara Falls Memorial Medical Center, which is one of the main hospitals in the Niagara region. And so that's the testing in the quarantine location, as well as some of the testing that we're doing on site on campus. The other organization we're working with is Well Now, which is an urgent care facility that has locations throughout Western New York. And so they're helping to augment some of the testing. One of the things that we've been challenged with is New York State was asked by the federal government to redirect much of our tests and testing equipment to other hotspot states in the South and in the West. And so for a period of time, we had to stop our testing entirely that we were doing throughout the summer on campus. But we've since been able to secure through Niagara Falls Memorial and through Well Now access to testing to be able to offer the testing that we have, and we'll be continuing to offer that through the course of the fall semester. And so that was very positive news. And again, the turnaround time on those, because we're able to process those locally, is 24 to 48 hours. So very different than what's being experienced other places in the country right now.
Very different. Great question. Next question, I've even gotten this one personally from some of my students. It's about cars. So they're moving their student onto campus. Do they take what belongings should they bring to the hotel? Which one should they leave on campus? Do they bring their car to campus and leave it there? Do they bring it to the hotel? Is there charged for parking? Do they have to pay for parking? Is there cars and moving in? How many belongings should they bring?
Great. I'll hop in, and then Kim, certainly you can add anything that you may have on that. So because you'll be stopping at campus first, if that is the only vehicle you're bringing, you would then need to bring it to the hotel because you'll be traveling from campus to the hotel. There is no cost or no fee for parking at the hotel for the duration of the quarantine period. So no problem at all in leaving your car there. And then that could certainly help facilitate when you leave the hotel to travel back to campus for move-in weekend. And so no problem with that at all. If you did want to leave your car on campus, we'd be able to accommodate that. And so we can make those arrangements as well. So if, for example, your family is caravanning up and you've got transportation from campus to the hotel and want to leave your car on campus, we can do that as well. No problem there. In terms of belongings, you've got a single room in the hotel to yourself. And so as much as you feel you can comfortably move in, there's no specific restrictions on what you can take into the hotel. And we also saw the question about whether family members would be able to accompany students into the hotel to move belongings in. We would be asking similar to what we're doing on campus for move-in, for no more than one family member to help a student in the hotel. Certainly the hotel has protocols in place for distancing and mask requirements throughout the move-in period. And so you would be asked to comply with those. And so we want to certainly keep the numbers as low as possible at any given time to avoid close contact. And so that would be in place, but you would have opportunity to help your student move in to the hotel.
I've talked to a bunch of students so far. You know, there's going to be a TV in the hotel room. There's going to be towels. There's going to be bedding, all that stuff. You don't have to worry about it. The hotel's going to still change your linen so you can, get fresh towels, you can get fresh sheets, all that kind of thing. So you don't need to bring any of that. If you want to use your own toiletries rather than those little bottles, yeah, bring your own stuff. Hair dryer, like all the same things that you'd find in a hotel. This is, it's a nice room. I wouldn't feel like you have to bring those kind of basics. Bring whatever clothes you're going to be comfortable in for 2 weeks. I've talked to some other students who, maybe I'm going to bring my Xbox to the hotel. That's fine. Bring your Roku so you can get in on your Netflix, or if you have your laptop, even like an HDMI cable so that you can get your laptop to the TV if you want to, is a good idea. I've heard some, maybe more parents are saying this, but they're saying, no, my student is just going to read their textbooks for 2 weeks when they're in the hotel. So, between, students and I, if you do that, you'll find out. But for your parents, yes, that's a great option for what you can do. I think it's just, it's not the way that you probably wanted to start your freshman year, but I know this has been a really kind of hectic summer, and especially for, going through your graduation and all that. I think just take the vacation, take the 2 weeks just to kind of relax and sleep in and just kind of enjoy a hotel room with a great view and air conditioning for a little while.
Air conditioning, I think, is key.
Yeah.
You guys don't realize it yet. One of the questions Lauren had was about transportation. She's flying to the airport. Emily's thumbs upping AC. She works in her office and she needs AC 100% in her life. Back to Lauren's question, she needs transportation from the airport from the airport to the hotel on the 5th. Are we providing transportation from the airport to the hotel? Is that an option for students, or is that on their own?
Ideally, if you can arrange that would be preferable. But certainly on an individual basis, if someone wants some help in identifying transportation options from the airport to the hotel, we can work that out. You can be in touch with myself, with Jason Jakubowski, our Dean of Students. In the information that you received, you should have Jason's contact information. I'll add mine in the chat box so that you can reach out to me as well. And we can certainly help anybody out who needs some assistance in that respect.
Things in New York are pretty, I don't want to say we're back to normal because we're not, but there's a lot more services that are available right now. So, Ubers are running, taxis are running. It's not difficult to get those right now. So if you're wearing your mask and washing your hands and all that, those services are available.
Can we order takeout?
Great question.
That's a great question.
Probably.
Casey, yes. So you can, absolutely. And in fact, we're encouraging, once the semester gets underway, we've got Uber Eats, DoorDash, Instacart, right? So all the ways that people have been getting groceries and takeout items, we'd be encouraging students on campus to utilize those services, because the less that you are out and about in congregate settings, in grocery stores and in restaurants, the better. And so that will absolutely be available. And we'll find out the specifics for the hotel, how that would work. Generally speaking, when someone delivers to a hotel, they deliver to the lobby. But we may have to adjust that in this situation. But I'll find out the answer to that. There was another question regarding the availability of laundry service in the hotel, or laundry in the hotel. I actually have texted that question to our Dean of Students. He'll be on a call tomorrow with the hotel management. And so I've asked him to pass that question along so that we can get that clarified. And I will do the same for this question of takeout, so we get that answered as well.
And then when you check in at the hotel, go ahead.
So I didn't mean to interrupt. But okay, I remember when we had to fill out the form, it said that we have to show the hotel the notification that we filled out the form. Do we still have to show that to them, or does something else, or anything else that we need to show?
I think, Matthew, you're lagging a little bit on your end, but I think they're asking about the New York State form that they have to fill out. Do they have to bring that to the hotel with them, or will it be available at the hotel, the quarantine form?
Yep, so the New York State form is something independent of the university, right? So that's part of the New York State requirement for those entering the state by ground or by air. So for those who may be arriving by air, it's something that you're required to fill out before you leave the airport. For those arriving, or you can fill it out online. In the information we sent, there's a link. You can also search on the New York State governor's website. They have the link to the travel advisory information, and it has that form online there, so anyone can fill it out in advance as well. You would not need to show. So again, that's a state requirement. It's not a university requirement. And so that's not something that you'll be asked to produce when you arrive to the hotel by the hotel staff or by our personnel. And instead we're providing an updated roster of students staying in the hotel to the hotel. So they'll be expecting your arrival and be prepared on the date that you've indicated that you're coming. And so that's how they'll know that you belong there, and they can give you access to your room.
Thanks. I'm just scrolling through because we've gotten two similar questions, one from Emily on behalf of one of her students, and then Patrick already asked, if they're currently in New York State and they're going to be in New York State from now until the start of classes, do they still need to quarantine, or can they just continue hanging out in New York State wherever they are?
Yes, great question. And so, yeah, if anybody's in New York State now, you do not need to quarantine. What we would ask is that you do use the link to register your plans or what you're doing to fulfill that quarantine period. The reason we're asking for that is we want to make sure that we've accounted for all of our students from affected states, one way or the other, right? So we're not dictating your decision-making around how you're fulfilling the quarantine. We just want to make sure that we've covered everybody. And so please go in and register that information so that we have that recorded, but no problem at all. If you're staying in New York, you would not then need to quarantine in the hotel.
And then I'm going to follow up with Janet. Hi, Janet. She's one of mine. Tell Max I said hi. I hope he's listening in. She's wondering if she's bringing up her son and then leaving via airport. Is that kosher, quote unquote?
So this is an interesting question, right? And it's one of these areas where our situation, specific to what we're doing at the university and in the context of this quarantine, is not very well defined in the New York State regulations. And so what I can say is that the university is not responsible for enforcing, right, the New York State's quarantine requirements. You are responsible as someone entering New York State for complying with the requirements of New York State, right? And so I'm not going to comment on whether that is appropriate or kosher. That's an individual decision that everyone needs to make about how they are complying with the requirements of New York State.
Thanks. He is not Governor Cuomo. So he's Chris Sheffield.
I do not want to be Governor Cuomo.
Me either. I would want to be one of his people, though. Did I miss anyone's questions? I'm sorry if I did, but feel free to drop it. Who do I notify if I'm coming late to schedule my quarantine? They're supposed to come on the 5th as a new student, but made plans a month ago to arrive on August 7th.
Yep. And so I'll have Kim speak to timing and scheduling for arrival on campus. But there is no problem with that from the perspective of the hotel. So if you've registered with us through the link that we sent and you've indicated your arrival on the 7th, that's when the hotel would be prepared for your arrival. Kim can speak to implications for campus.
Campus, it's all fine. We're going to be there starting on really Monday next week, and we're going to be there next week. It's going to be a little shorter. It's going to be about 10 to 5 or so. But starting on the 7th, when we're expecting the whole influx of everybody, it's going to be 10 until 7 p.m. So if you can come there, great. If you can't come during that time frame, if you need to come in at 9:30 or whatever it is, just let us know. We'll help you. If you could avoid coming at 2 in the morning, that would be spectacular. But we'll figure something out for you. We're going to have staff around to be able to figure those things out. So yeah. And then when you put your information into that form on My and You that says what day and time you're coming, we give all that information to the hotel. So you just show up, you give them your name. They've already got it at the front desk. They know about when to expect you, and they're ready for you.
And then some of my students, and I shouldn't say just my students, but some people in the chat did message me privately that they did not receive that form yet. About the arrival time. Is there a way you can just blast that out again next week? Because some did not receive that. And I will make sure they're checking their MyNU account, my friends. Your MyNU, your email. And then Janet also had a follow-up about the safety of the hotel. And maybe even want to talk about if any NU staff are going to be there during the time that we're letting all these young adults hang out in a hotel for 2 weeks. So Janet, you know what I'm talking about. I know who your son is.
Yep.
Any comments on that?
Sure, absolutely. I appreciate that question, Janet. And it's certainly something that we're keyed into as well. So generally speaking, the hotel, by virtue of its location and this current arrangement, we expect to be very, very safe. This is a hotel that the university has long had a relationship with. We've hosted many different events and guests in the hotel over the years, and we've had very positive experiences and feedback from those staying in that location. We also know that because we likely will be using about 86 rooms in the hotel, that takes the hotel to capacity. And so for this period of time, Niagara University and its students will be the hotel's guests. And so that certainly has implications for safety in those spaces. We will have residence life staff on site throughout the duration of the quarantine period, as well as beyond, because this location will continue to be our quarantine location should we have students who are tested or in close contact with somebody who's tested positive for COVID in the weeks and months ahead. And so we'll continue to have on-site resources and staffing to help our students during this period of time. I may have mentioned, and if I didn't, I apologize, that we'll also have availability of contact with our health services department and our counseling services office by telehealth and telemedicine for our students throughout this period of time. But certainly our on-site residence life staff will be an important contact and resource, staying at the hotel so that they can make sure they're keeping at least one eye on the goings-on of students. And again, we do expect that that kind of student movement around the hotel will be relatively limited. Now, we're not naive, right? We know what happens, and we're going to make sure that we're keeping an eye on what's going on. But I think you can anticipate that this is not going to be aggressive policing of student activity and movement in the hotel, but similar to what we do in the residence halls, kind of having a sense for what's happening listening for the noise of gatherings, right? Some of the things that come along with that, and keeping an eye on those things and keeping those types of activities to a dull roar. So that'll be our focus and attention. So Janet, I think you can expect that the students will have a very safe, very positive experience overall in the hotel.
A nice, relaxing 2-week vacation where they're reading all their textbooks.
You gotta
Right,
make
Matthew?
that comfy.
Right, Casey?
Right.
I know you guys.
Another quick question.
Yeah, go for it, girl.
Okay, I just want to reconfirm. So I originally signed up to move in the 18th because I didn't think I was going to have to come quarantine.
Mhm.
But now I do have to quarantine and I'll be there the 5th. So I don't get out until the 19th. So is the move-in date, like, am I just signing up for when the moving company is moving in my stuff? Or am I signing up for when I'm supposed to get into the dorm?
No, so now because you're quarantining, you don't have to sign up for anything except for the quarantine form. So yeah, so that's only like so that we know what day like your stuff is going to be, when you're coming to campus. So we already know that you're coming because you signed up now for the 5th. And so yeah, we've got those two lists side by side. So we know that that you're then going to come back from the hotel on the 19th, and so yeah, you're all set. You don't, as long as you get that other form, and you will once our dean of students sends that out again when he sends up to the update of the new list. So no, once you get that, don't worry about it, and then you're good.
Okay, and then they also said you couldn't move in the same time as your roommate. So my roommate's moving in on the 19th. So do they know that, like, that they'll like change it or something?
I mean, the whole point is just so that, like, you're not, I mean, of course you and your roommate are going to spend a lot of time together, but so it's not that, you're there, your parents are there, her parents are there in the room all trying to, bump into each other and whatnot. That's really the only thing. So and it's a 60-minute time block for when you're going to come in, and kind of, that's like your time in the elevator and the stairway and all that. So yeah, just, I mean, if it's the same hour that you guys come in, it's just try to stay out of each other's way as best you can while each of you has your guest that's helping you get your stuff up there. That's really all it is. We're just trying to help, the parents social distance too, so that they're not kind of tripping over each other as you're getting your stuff in. That's all.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I love these questions too, because these are so many questions that I haven't been able to answer, mainly because we're still figuring it out too. This is all new to us. So I think that's our biggest thing, is that we just want to say thank you for being patient with us as we navigate this and trying to figure this out to get everybody back on the ridge. And we cannot wait. Well, I know I can't wait. One more question we have, is there any help moving into the hotel, from the hotel to the dorms? And do we move everything in after quarantine? This might have been a latecomer. I think we reviewed this, but I just didn't want to touch on it again. If you don't have a car and you need help moving from the hotel to the dorms, just let us know, and Niagara will help you navigate that. And then leave, again, like Kim said, leave whatever you can. Like, I don't think you need 2 TVs in your hotel room. I really don't think you do. I mean, if that's your style, just remember you're moving that to your dorm. I don't think you need 2 refrigerators either. You're only there for 2 weeks. If I can last in a hotel for a week without 2 refrigerators, I think you can too. And maybe some of you will get goodie bags. We don't know. But hint, hint. I see grinning over there. Yeah, I'm talking about you too. I just started my list. Emily Olzak's in with it. Sam's Club is going to have a nice visit. But we're here to help you, so don't hesitate to reach out. Chris just dropped his information. I've dropped mine. Feel free to text me, hey, I made it to the hotel. Send me a picture of your room, especially if you're on the riverside. Grand Island Bridge, terrifying. Have fun driving over it. Give me 6 months to get used to it. Any other questions that we can answer for you? And again, I know Chris mentioned Jason's meeting with the hotel staff again. So I'm assuming we'll have some more updates from you early next week. So again, just continue to check that Niagara email. Feel free to reach out to your admissions counselor. If you don't know who they are yet, just contact me. I'm fielding everybody. Any other questions? We're super excited to see you in less than a week. Super excited. It's nice to finally see you, Janet. We're so excited. We've talked several times. Any other questions for us? Can we send stuff to the dorm like bedding during quarantine? Kim? You're muted, Kim. Please hold.
Sorry. I would say not during quarantine, but you'll come to campus first, and you'll be able to either drop your stuff off to your room or to storage. So I would leave like your bedding there because again, you wouldn't need that in the hotel. And then for everybody, when you come back from quarantine, while you were there for the 2 weeks, your stuff's got moved to your room if you were in Clay or O'Shea. And if you're in Seton or Varsity Village, then you were able to just move your stuff directly to your room to begin with. So when you come back, there's no moving boxes. It's just taking the bag, your duffel bag with you from the hotel, what you had. And then again, we'll help you with transportation too, so you don't need to worry about that. And then once you get back to campus, you just get to do the fun stuff. You get to unpack, you get to meet your roommate, you do the stuff that we have for you for the weekend. And so then all the kind of big stuff is behind you at that point.
How does new student orientation work?
I'm going to send this one over to Chris.
Absolutely, and that's a great question. So new student orientation, if you've heard from students in previous years about new student orientation or NSO, it's going to look a little bit different this year, certainly, because of some of the restrictions that we have in place. But we do expect that there's going to be a combination of both educational sessions as well as social opportunities to give you a kind of a taste of what we're looking at. We've got some outdoor movies that we're looking at doing, so some big screens set up various places on campus where students could gather and be appropriately socially distanced outside, and certainly doing events outside increases the safety for everybody involved. Students will be enjoying a barbecue dinner that we're putting together, an opportunity again to meet some other people in a safe way. And so it's going to be, certainly not the same type of program that we typically enjoy, which offers an opportunity for families to spend some time with us, a walk to the whirlpool. I'm not going to share with you all the stuff that we usually do and can't do. So I'll just share with you the fun and exciting things we are doing. And we do have a lot of things planned that should get you engaged, meeting other students in a safe way, and learning more about what to expect from the university experience. And so a number of different things that we'll do over the course of those few days.
Thank you.
It's going to be fun, I promise. We just got to get you to campus. We got to get you quarantined. Your vacation for 2 weeks, and then we'll take care of you. We'll take you under our little purple wings. We're so excited to have people on campus. Well, I am. I can't speak for anything. Kim's like, yeah, super. Kim's ready for it.
When you guys get on campus, everything gets so much just simpler. All these like little coordination things that we're doing. So yes, I'm so excited to get you guys on campus.
It all makes sense. I'm looking forward to standing in the Tim Hortons line for 15 minutes just for my everything bagel with sausage, egg, and cheese.
Well, Emily, I'll tell you that it's going to be multiple Tim Hortons lines.
No, you
because,
didn't.
Again, right? We've got to have people distanced and get people through these lines, and so they're adding some more registers. So yeah, it's going to be great.
And since you're all out of state and going to be following proper New York State protocol when you come into town, once you're done with your quarantine, go to Wegmans and get a sub with oil. I'm just saying, it's one of my faves. Extra oil. Or the meatballs are really good if you get it toasted. Stephanie knows what I'm talking about. We'll give you all the food recommendations. We're foodies up here, so please let us know.
If you can DoorDash at the hotel, I'll give you my personal list of these are my Niagara Falls places I order from. So.
I know, I'm trying to think if La Galera, the Mexican place, is on DoorDash.
Best Chinese in Niagara Falls. Oh, it's great.
Yeah, listen. We didn't get these aren't quarantine bodies that we've made. This has been years of, also wait till you get on campus, the food also. Any other questions for us this evening? Yeah, Chinese actually sounds really good right now. I haven't had dinner yet.
Hong Kong Kitchen's my favorite. Other people like taste good, but you can DoorDash them both. And then you can find out. You can decide which way.
Maybe you should do a taste off while you're in quarantine so you know for future reference.
Start a food blog. That's fun.
Yeah. Anyway. Forget those textbooks. Who needs those? Just kidding, parents. I'm talking to you, Mike and Janet. Any other questions for us? Any other questions? All of our contact information is there. Feel free to reach out to us. We don't work on Fridays, but we still answer our phones and emails sometimes. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here for you. We're super, 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 again, I can't speak for everyone. I am super excited to have you guys all on Montego Ridge, as we like to call it. And we'll see you in less than a week. And then we'll see you start of classes in less than a month, which is so crazy to even think about that we've made it this far. Thank you so much for joining us. A huge thank you to Kim. Huge thank you to Chris as well for keeping everybody informed, keeping us up to date. Continue checking that MyNU email, your NU email through your MyNU. Sign up for the MyNU account workshop if you have not yet. Please do that. So you're all up to date on that. And then we'll see you guys all soon. Again, any questions, feel free to reach out to us.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Have a
everybody.
great night. We'll see you soon. Safe travels to campus and the hotel.
Yes.
Bye, Janet.
Bye, everybody.